Jamboard can help you learn to read rhythms. Let's practice this together by learning the rhythms to Mozart's Eine kleine Nacht music. Here we have the rhythm from the beginning, the iconic bum, 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 bum. Let's take the rhythms here and put them into the Jamboard. We start with a quarter note. I found the quarter note here. I'm going to click and drag it to the first beat of the measure. Now of note, this piece of music is in 4/4, so I selected the first Jamboard that is in 4/4. We'll talk about the rest later. Next in my measure, I have this symbol here. This is an eighth note rest. You can drag it in the next section. Next, we have a single eighth note. Let's find that and drag it into the next part. Next, we have another quarter note. You can copy this one. I'll do Command C. Next, we have another eighth note rest. I'll do Command C. And finally, we have an eighth note. I'm going to copy that one. Here we have our rhythm for the measure. This indicates that the quarter note is going to be held for the entire length of beat 1. You can use the pen here to circle the beats that line up with the note. Here's a rest, nothing here, but there's a note that lines up on the what's called the and of 2, and we have a note that lines up with beat 3. We also have a note that lines up with the and, this plus sign means and, the and of 4. Now we have our rhythm for the first measure. One way to demonstrate this rhythm is by tapping our lap along with this 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Something like this. Try that. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now, if we speak, the parts of the measure that we've circled will get our rhythm here. 1 and 3 and. Try that with me. 1 and 3 and. Let's try that on the second measure of Eine kleine Nacht music. The way I'll do that is I'll just duplicate this page here by clicking this triple dot. Now, I can move rhythms around by clicking the select button. I'm going to clear out the page. I use the eraser. And I'm going to add these 4 eighth notes. Using the select button, I'll drag them. And I see a quarter note. I'm going to drag a quarter note in there. Again, the arrow helps us remember how long the quarter note is held. And it looks like we end with a quarter note rest. Here we have our rhythm. We can circle the parts of the beat that line up with notes. This is held through, and there's nothing happening here. You can either remain silent on a rest or you could speak it out loud. Now remember, we want to start by tapping our lap to this rhythmic grid here. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Keep that going while you speak only the circled parts of the grid. 1 and 2 and 3. 1 and 2 and 3. You could also say rest out loud. 1 and 2 and 3, rest. 1 and 2 and 3, rest. Use Jamboard to help you determine how to read rhythms. Then you can submit this to me either by recording yourself speaking the rhythms like I'm doing, or I might ask you to submit a picture of this, in which case you can go to More Actions and you can save this frame as an image. It should be here. You can click and drag this to submit work. If the piece has a different time signature, use any of the other Jamboards that I've created for you. For example, this time signature, 4/4, like we saw before, sometimes you'll see 16th notes. If you see 16th notes, which look like this, you're going to want to use this board. You'll see that this has a different grid at the bottom. If you're in 3/4 and you see 16th notes, you should use this grid. If you're in 2/2 or cut time, use this grid. If you're in 3/4 but you don't see any 16th notes, use this grid. If you're in 6/8, use this grid. Notice I emphasize beat 1 and 4. Very common in 6/8. Sometimes in 6/8 you'll see 16th notes. If you do, use this grid. All right, that's all. Good luck.